We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon Day, A.K. Blazy Gardner, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's PONKYBRUISETER. And we're here to talk to you about The Walking Dead's 19th episode of its 11th and final season, titled Variant. Let's go really quick past that final part.
We don't say those words.
The season.
The sale is still going on in our merch store. We did unveil the design based on our podcast graphics, and I think it looks really, really cool. In fact,
well, you made it, so like you're gonna think it looks cool. No,
yeah, I think it looks cool. My mom thinks it looks cool. Your mom thinks it looks cool. Bridget.
Oh my God, you're talking to my mom? That's so nice.
Well, she said, like, she's proud of you for being a host on this podcast.
Yes, I know this is a lie because she would never say that. So.
She secretly does, though. She wouldn't say it to you, though. She would say, like, I'll never tell my daughter, but I am proud of her for being on this podcast.
It's like that episode of The Office where Michael's like, don't ever tell her I said this, but she's actually a really talented artist.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you ever tell her that?
Because I don't want her to know. I want to have something over her. And, by the way, Rachel, your mom, Chris, says she's very proud of you for being on this podcast, too. She did.
I like that, I believe. Like that.
Actually, and Sharon, your mom, also, Sherry, said...
My mom doesn't know what a fucking podcast is, so I doubt that is true.
No, but she just said that she was proud of you, period.
Oh, that's nice.
Let's go into first impressions because, yes, there were some really good emotional beats. The tension is sort of ratcheting up, and I like that there were really good moments of calm during this episode. I guess we're starting with me. And that there were moments of even humor. There were like some funny fucking moments in this episode. Like even the terrifying moments in some ways had that tinge of humor. Tinge of humor. Whispers! Oh my God, whispers! And then like, it's like, oh what?
No.
And like it's
well,
funny
he rip
because
off his skin mask. I mean his face.
Right. It's funny because he thinks it's whispers, but it's not funny because it's not a whisperer.
Yeah.
And the look in his face actually makes you feel like really bad and scared for him at this realization. But that's Aaron, by the way. I didn't say who he was.
This is the first time Dave hasn't been like, we're talking about Aaron.
I am so hungry right now, but this is what's happening
Eugene
now.
Squaring off against Daryl had to be like one of the funniest scenes I have ever seen on this show.
And it stuck the landing too.
Gosh.
Oh, we're going to keep going. Oh, okay. And then, like I said, it turns into this really great emotional moment between he and Daryl. This like, I know who you are and I know who you are. Like, I know you're not going to do this, but I also know that it's not because you're a coward. But let's dial it back. I want to go to Rachel because can you describe what about this episode made you not want to talk about it? What the audience may or may not know, depending on whether you're watching the unedited or the edited episode. You were very happy to sidetrack. What was it about this episode that made you well up about it?
I am.
Is that English?
Maybe. I'm very excited to talk about it. I am, but I know I'm going to get very emotional during this episode because there was just a lot of shit that went down. There was a lot of shit that happened. There's a lot of relatable scenes. This episode to me just fucking had everything. I laughed, I cried, I cheered, I screamed. This episode checks every fucking box for me. It was so good. I almost didn't even notice Carol wasn't in it.
That's kind of what I was going to ask you next. Like, did you even notice?
Yeah, like it was so good. Okay. I almost didn't notice. Almost.
Was it not until afterwards?
Yeah, like afterwards. And
okay.
And,
well, then you didn't.
Well, and to be fair, we saw her in like the, previously on or like the, you know what I mean? So like she was like right here, but not in the rest of it.
You know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of like after an episode, which we'll undoubtedly see on Twitter on Sunday night, the people that'll go, where's Negan? How could it's Negan? What, you don't care about Negan anymore? Like no. It just, every now and again you would see comments like this. I'm glad I didn't see Carol this episode. I hate her. Whatever.
They can all
they're out there
and break their front teeth for all I care.
Very specific.
Why are they on their bikes? Like, are they children?
Yes, maybe.
Bridget?
Maybe.
Just enjoy the analogy.
Maybe.
I hope you fall off your bike, you weak 10-year-old.
In my head,
going with this.
In my head, they are children, right? Because who else could be that rude? But children are.
Don't forget your
popsicle.
Don't forget your playing card and your bike spokes.
I hope you get
you punk.
I hope you get
punk
brain
bitch.
freeze from eating the popsicle too fast.
Hope you get diabetes 3
Oh no.
from that popsicle.
I hope you
3. Is that a thing?
I hope you
Did I
get
bring
a
down the
splinter.
room? I
Dave,
hope
is that a
so.
I
thing?
hope you get a splinter.
No, it's not. I don't think. I don't think it's a
Like,
thing.
is this a new
It's a
medical
thing now. Make it a
thing?
thing.
I'm unaware of.
I hope you get diabetes 3.
Diabetes.
And then when you
Say
get
it right.
and then when you get that splinter, you get an infection that can't get rid of.
Yeah.
That no
Yeah.
antibiotic will heal.
Yeah, I hope you get a splinter and it gets infected, and then it never heals, and you have an infection splinter forever. And
then they have
the
to
splinter
amputate?
can't come out either. I don't know why it's in your thumb. Apparently,
Right.
it's in your thumb because I did this. You have a splinter in your thumb. No,
This
it's
is
in your
improv.
pointer
I'm
finger.
following you.
It's in your pointer finger because you never realize how much you used your pointer finger until you can't anymore. I hope you get a splinter in your pointer finger and it stays infected forever. That's what I
May
hope.
your cootie shots never work again.
That's right.
In other words, hey Rachel, why can't you face this pain?
Deflection.
Getting back to the point. See, I knew what's going on here, you fuck. Was it more of the conversations with Princess and Mercer? I mean, for example, or Eugene and Rosita, Aaron and Lydia, or was it all
Yes,
of them?
it was all of that.
In their own little way.
All of that. All 3 of those heavy conversations were just.
I know
me.
what it is also though. May I, if I may try this on? Was it also like, man, I'm getting emotional. Was it also knowing that this is like
Stop
the
it! Don't
end?
even know. We're not even gonna go there. We don't know. We don't say that stuff. Fucking shit. We don't do that fucking shit. But yes, to answer your question, yes. And then we're gonna skip over it. Okay. So yes, and so Lydia and Aaron specifically, Aaron's conversation about what he was talking about was Eric, right? He brought up Eric, reminding us of a past character that we loved, that we lost. I mean, when you bring up one character from our past, of course, we're going to remember 10 more and then 30 more. And then all of a sudden the tears are flowing and we're like, oh my God, we've come so far. And like,
Yeah, I mean, well, take for example, like in that conversation, I couldn't help but not mention Jesus because it was not mentioned at all, which I thought would be a cool example, but maybe it was cut for time. I want to explore that further, but like even when Rosita was talking to Eugene, I thought of Abraham. I thought of Sasha and Rosita attacking, because it was a little hypocritical of Rosita to kind of criticize Eugene when she went way out of her way to not only try to take with Sasha to try to take down the sanctuary, but then in season 8 was it Tara in Daryl, or was it Rosita and Daryl with the garbage truck? I always get this. I think it was Rosita.
Tara and Rosita were together, and then Daryl was with someone else because they were chasing the same people, and then they hit them with the truck. Daryl was chasing somebody down, and then Tara and Rosita show up and hit him with the truck. Isn't that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm specifically talking about the garbage truck that they rammed into the sanctuary to try to like make the walkers take it over. Do you remember that? Was that Rosita or Tara? I keep forgetting.
That was an RV.
I remember
that was the RV, not a.
No, this was later on in the season, not the first episode of season 8, but it was Daryl and another woman. I think it was Rosita.
Okay. I thought it was Daryl by himself.
No, it was both of them.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay.
Anywho, yeah, it's hypocritical for Rosita to kind of criticize Eugene, but I get it because she's very protective over Eugene, or classically protective over Eugene. Well, for the most part. Most part. And especially after the last few seasons. She was very protective over Eugene in seasons 9 through 11. More protective over Eugene's heart.
When he came
especially
back
since
from being Negan, yes.
Oh, yeah. No, that's what I mean. Well, and a lot of time has passed, right? Like there's forgiveness. He's become very useful to Rick at that point or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It throws her off her kilter how much this young man has grown. And speaking of young men that have grown, Daryl. I'm really loving this guy with his wisdom and not afraid to not get in people's faces and having the wisdom enough to know, oh, let's see how this works out, Eugene. All right, go right ahead. And it's these little moments like these, like in the last episode where he's talking to Judith, treating her like an adult, even though she's a kid, and letting her have her space and coming back to her and saying, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm going to give it a shot. maybe Gimple is right. Like maybe this is just them moving into their final Pokemon form, essentially. Something he said in New York Comic Con. Charity, what did you think about this episode? Because I think you were the one who said this was kind of a meh episode.
I guess it was because after the big explosion at the end of last week's episode, there just wasn't like a big moment in this one. And on the second and third watch, I enjoyed it a lot more. I think I was just missing the big, holy crap, oh my God moment that we had in the episode before that.
Okay. Oh, well, the shock of them getting rid of Sebastian as the possible big baddie at the end. So, and maybe because I was thinking about this when I was watching it the second time around more, the variant thing should have been more of a surprise. Do you all agree that maybe that shocking factor was completely fucked by the fact that they kind of prepped us in advance?
Yeah.
Well, the people who really follow closely in advance, right?
If I hadn't watched that trailer, I wouldn't have known, and it would have
Not
been
even the
so
trailer.
exciting, and I would have lost my mind over that.
But they prepped.
So I was so upset that we were like knew about it. I thought about that after the episode. I was like,
well, I mean, they prepped us for the variants with the World Beyond, and then they've been talking about it, and it's been in the previews, and they showed the hand reaching over the gate in the preview. And don't we say this about AMC all the time? Stop spoiling your fucking shows, man. Like you spoil all the great moments. Stop fucking doing it.
You know what? It does make me jealous for folks. Well, okay, half jealous because binge culture, because they'll just binge it all and be like, I feel nothing. But like, it does make me jealous for folks who are just stepping into this and not reading the constant news and the news upon news following news, like an Ouroboros almost, like a snake eating its own tail of like, oh, and
past
here's this
Bridget.
and here's that.
Yeah, past Bridget.
Well, what's that? What does that mean?
Because I didn't used to read about the show. I would just watch it when it came on. That's why I'm like, this would have blown my mind. I have so many memories of like these crucial moments happening in the show, and me just like shooting up, being like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. And like, now, nope. Now you podcast, you idiot.
You know what?
This is what you get.
We did talk about that offline, and I think this is something we could bring up because, and maybe all of us can talk about it, but like until I started this podcast, I was not plugged into social media at all. The Walking Dead family, social, that network that we have of people that we know. And I kind of wanted to remain that way initially too, because I wanted that objectivity to be able to judge. And now we're friends with Teo, so that's out the window. Like, this is how far we've come, and now like, oh, I don't want you to die, Sebastian, because I know you in real life.
We did the same thing with Colby, Rachel and I, when we started talking to Colby, and it was like, I don't want Jenny to die now because I love you, Colby.
Right, Colby Minifee, specifically, yeah.
And Alexa. I mean, for me anyway, I had a huge hatred for Charlie until we got to know Alexa, and then I'm like, Charlie's not so bad.
Alexa Nisenson from Fear the Walking Dead as well. Charlie.
Here we go, breaking our own rules about mixing up actors and the roles they play, right? At first, I was like, no, don't hurt Virginia, and then John died, and I was like, nah, kill that bitch. Kill her. She's dead.
Get the bitch. Somebody's got to pay, and it's not going to be Dakota.
Sorry, Colby. I'm going to miss you, but fucking bye, Virginia.
Oh, I'm sure she gets excited every time somebody says, kill that bitch. It's a mixed bag. If you think about it. Did all of you have that experience, like before you were kind of not keyed in?
Yes.
And now that you're in the thick of it?
Yes.
In this podcast,
I mean, I told you last week or a week, I don't know, recently.
Not that long ago.
I wouldn't even watch Ride with Norman Reedus because I didn't want to know Norman. I wanted to know Daryl. And now it's like, yeah, like you said, like now we just like know people and like know all the things and like hear all the things and like we're like in it.
Constantly on top of the news.
In it instead of just
following the AMC's accounts.
So Rachel, remember when right before John Sr. came on, right? And we had posted the thing about John Sr.
Yes.
And Jenna was like, that's a heck of a spoiler. And we took it down, but we didn't even think about it being a spoiler because everybody in the fandom knew that John Sr. was going to be on the show. I mean, so it was like, well, yeah, I guess for just your casual viewer, no, of course they would have known that, but we didn't even consider it a spoiler because we'd already known for 6 months.
Weeks. Yeah. Months, weeks at that time. You forget that other people aren't. Like, I forget what it was like before. not knowing anything. Like Bridget said, just watching it week to week and enjoying the shock of what you see. They just do still shock me, which is awesome, but not as much, unfortunately.
Well,
right.
And even you don't even have to be super dialed in to the show, because all you have to do is watch the next week on, and they're going to spoil something, just like they spoiled Cole coming back, right? That was in the preview for the next week. That wasn't even something that was, oh, look what I saw. No, it was right after the episode. They're like, oh, next week Cole's going to be here. Like, what the fuck? Why did you tell us that?
That would have been an amazing surprise to just see his face on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, things like even like Daniel Salazar coming back, like these are big things. Dwight coming
Austin
back.
coming to Fear. Yeah.
Pre-revealed. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Sorry, coming back to the universe.
Going to Fear, yeah.
Via Fear. Right. Thank you. Isabel being a girl, that CRM soldier that was leading Althea. I would like to not have seen the helmet come off and see that it was her or whatnot. Going back to the point, I do feel a little bit jealous of people that are coming to this universe later on, like when it's all over, in a way, because binge culture makes people completely desensitized. But I would like to have that coming back. And maybe this will be and I don't know if what we said before about forgetting movies is going to make the final cut. Probably not. But sometimes I'll forget a movie. So just in case. Sometimes I'll just forget a movie, like even a classic movie like Psycho or Halloween. I'll be like, oh, I forget the details because I don't really care about it that much, really. If I did, I would remember it. It's not like something that shakes me to the core. Maybe this show in its own way, some of the details, even though I've taken extensive notes from season 8 on, maybe those details will fade. And maybe when I come back to finally rewatch this show or some of the other Walking Dead universe shows, I'll have that new pair of eyes. Maybe when we rewatch the shows, when we're covering it the week of, sometimes when we watch it again, we see something new. So maybe when we come back to it after that long a time, I'll be like, oh yeah, I see this differently now that I'm not constantly chasing my ass trying to get notes for the show, that I can there's a deeper appreciation because I don't have podcast brain. I don't have my analytical brain on. I can just watch it to watch it and be like, what a fucking great show that now I can appreciate even better now that I'm not covering it or something. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I should reiterate that when I watch these shows, I almost never go back unless I really have to do research for a specific thing. But I never rewatch the Walking Dead shows, the Walking Dead universe shows. I never go back. There's not enough time. Just being very honest. There's other shows. I am married. I have responsibilities. And so it's just one of those things where life is a little too short and there's too much cool shit in life for me to go back to it. And this is an admission, by the way. As a Walking Dead podcast, this is quite the admission. Because I know you guys do. I know you guys will sometimes rewatch stuff. I just will never do it. I won't do it. I can't do it. And maybe it's because The Walking Dead's finishing or something like that. There's things like that in my mind. And I don't know how long this will last. I'm trying to stay focused so that we can focus on what we're doing and be in this moment in time. So I try not to go back. It's just me. Sorry. I'm alone in this. I'm pretty sure.
You are.
Yeah.
You're definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely alone in that.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what I was saying before about trying to be objective, trying to be present with all that's going on. I need to be present. I need to focus on what we're doing now because I can't get sidetracked on. I know it's important to kind of focus on the moment, but that's my point is if I keep going back, it's oh, that stuff is going to enter in and no, I need to focus on breaking down this episode.
I don't know how you remember the shit
now.
you remember without going back and doing rewatches. I've watched this series probably 5 times through and can't remember every detail.
Maybe that's why. I don't know. But it's like school when you take notes, when you're actually, even if the notes I type don't make analysis, it's just the fact that I'm typing some dialogue or if I'm typing something that I want to remember.
Yeah.
It just stays with me after that. It's maybe what they say about studying is true.
I have 3 notebooks full of notes that I've handwritten. So, I can't say it's not because I don't write as I'm watching, because I do.
Right. And that's why I appreciate you. It's not about the thing you remember, but especially when we're talking, something will come up and it'd be oh, I just thought of this now. It's not something that I wrote down even. Mm-hmm. And you're like that all day. Step into your mind a little bit.
I think I would like to get out of the way the conversation about the variant and the scenes at Ye old Renaissance.
Fair. Between the opening drone shot as we lead into Kingdom 2.0 was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should start with the lead up. I really loved the segue into the variant because it was so subtle that it took me like a second to be like, oh, this is where it comes in. They're on the road and they're going to take the wagon off the road, which why? Just like, don't ever do that. But, okay.
Well, I mean, that's what they were saying.
That's your
like,
call.
gosh, should we?
That's what Jerry
Should
said.
we?
Don't
That's
do
your
it.
call, Aaron. So he suffered the consequences of that. So
You could have had fettuccine a la cannellini beans. So,
but I loved that one walker caught that they had been there. And I was like, oh, is it because of the wind? Like, was the wind blowing their smell towards them? But the wind is, they intentionally had the wind blowing the other direction. You could see like the walker's hair was like flowing the other way. So the wind was coming up from behind him, like
Right, so
to
they were
the
downwind.
left of him, not to the right of him where they were. So it was just so like intentional that they were like, this is it. This is a variant. But I didn't register that right away. I was just like, oh, why is this walker like smarter? Did he hear them? Is this one that can like hear better?
So now that we've all watched Tales of the Walking Dead, and if you haven't, this is a great opportunity to go back, because in one of the Tales of the Walking Dead episodes, because it's an anthology series, there are little sections and cross sections of the Walking Dead universe. One of them, which is Amy/Dr. Everett. Dr. Everett, Chauncey Everett, is studying the walkers 35 years in the future, and he notices these little differences. Now, when you saw that, at least, did that episode pop into your head? And I kind of want to cross-reference it a little bit.
No, not at all. Not until literally just now when we're talking about it. Like,
Really?
nope.
What about you
not
guys?
Not a thought.
Yes.
I know that was Sharondy's favorite part, was watching the differences in the walker.
I said yes. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't hear you. But you thought of it too. Okay, so when I saw it, I was a little bit pissed off because my little biases, because what I wanted to believe, and I still do, I don't think that the walkers in the Tales of the Walking Dead episodes were variants. I honestly think it was Dr. Everett's biases, mostly because at the end of the episode, he was like full of shit and he was kind of called out on it. It's like, no, it's just because it's Dr. Mosley. I loved him so much and I just want to keep him around. But when I saw this, it was like a whole other thing. Not at all like it was on that episode. A little vindicated, but also a little pissed off because I'm hoping people don't refer back to, oh, he was right. Dr. Everett was right. I'm like, no, he wasn't. Biases. Fuck you, Dr. Everett. Fuck you hardly. Anyway, sorry, meanness aside. So let's continue the thought. Well, the first cool concrete thing that we saw, or one of the first, was obviously the walker climbing the fence.
Mm-hmm. But you don't know that it's that same walker until the interaction in which he comes to Lydia and then grabs on to her weapon, which was like insane. And I love that she's like, what? She was like so flabbergasted by what was happening, because you would be, right? Like you'd be like, what the hell just happened? He just grabbed onto it. They never do that.
Yeah, they're usually going like this, like trying to grab at your face.
Yeah,
and tear
then
into it.
and then they're like, they run away from him. And then first off, before we even get there, the fact that they heard the sound, that's the walker getting over the fence and opening the door to let in the other walkers, because they didn't climb the fence.
Yeah, I have to assume that too.
And that was just like, I was like,
They'd have been a lot more staggered if they had.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, so he went back and opened the door. Like, so he like planned this out. He's like, I'm gonna get these bitches. I'm gonna
I got
get
you
them.
guys.
I'm gonna get them good. I'm gonna get them good. One, I stalked my prey. Two, I then am capable of climbing a fence, which is creepy enough on its own. Three, I am capable of using tools and also understanding mechanics enough to be able to open a door to let in other walkers.
Or is that an echo of a memory? Knowing how to open a door, because that is something that you do your entire life. That is a muscle memory.
Is he from the Renaissance Fair? Was he
Maybe
a Ren Fair walker?
I'm saying open doorknobs in general.
No, I just mean like if he was in that area, would that have been one of his places or whatever?
Could be.
That's an interesting
I
thing.
mean, possibly, but or maybe it's just your entire life you spend opening doorknobs. So that's like a muscle memory thing.
That's exactly what I was
So you can
say.
walk up as a walker, you walk up to the door and you just say, oh, here, this is what I do because this is what I always do with a doorknob.
See, I assumed because it was like a Ren Fair and like the way that it looked that it would have been like a gate with like a thing to
I was
close
picturing
it,
like a
like
latch, some kind of a lift latch.
like a latch or like
Yeah.
a gate, the bar to cover. Like at an old castle, you'd have like a wooden bar that would you'd put
Gotcha,
the
gotcha.
you know,
Sit
But I
in the
mean,
hands.
just
I was
something.
thinking, I was thinking specifically of the doorknob when they were inside the whatever the hell little place they went into.
Yeah,
And they were
yeah.
hiding.
Shack
Oh,
booth.
yeah.
Right, they were
Yeah.
hiding, and it was
Yeah.
turning the doorknob.
You're right. No, I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking like, how did he even get the gate open to like let the other walkers in?
Well, see, almost everything that was mentioned here doesn't bother me so much because, like Sharon D said, I was going to say this as well, was like, it's muscle memory, aka the neocortex. The neocortex concatenates movements that we're used to. Like the fact that I know how to lift my arms up and know where those arms are going to go or end up when I do this. That's your neocortex.
Sure, but is thought and planning part of that?
That's what bothers me. It actually bothers me a lot that what you literally just started off saying, that it went back to open the door for the herd. That bothers me tremendously.
It's terrifying.
They're taking a huge leap because it's not just ambulatory walkers. It's not just walkers that know how to use tools or possibly, right, to use tools or how to take down their prey. It's that planning. That doesn't only open the door, it kicks it wide open.
I know that this is like risky, right, from a writing standpoint.
That's what
It's
I'm
very
saying.
risky. But I will say that I absolutely love this direction. And I know that this is like over the top and wild and crazy, but think of like any other zombie media that's like gone on for many years. They usually end up evolving in some way because it's not scary after it's the same thing over and over and over again. So, you know, you had regular walkers. Okay, that's not very scary. Well, now we've added roamers and lurkers into the bunch. So it's like a little bit scarier. They could just be like playing dead, but they're not really. And like, that's weird, but that's a thing that's happened. Then we get in the whispers because those aren't actually walkers, but they look like walkers and we think that they are at the beginning and they're whispering and it's creepy and have they evolved? And now we're at this point, right? Like, cause we've run out of like, it's too much of the same. So it's gotta be different. Now, I know none of you guys listen to it, but there is a serial podcast on Apple Podcasts called We're Alive. I've mentioned it to you guys before because I am obsessed. I absolutely adore it. In it, there are traps that are created by the zombies. Not all of them, but there are specific ones who were very intelligent in life that are then, as a result, very intelligent in death in comparison to other zombies. They set up intricate traps and will hide. So they'll like block the road with cars and then be like hidden off to the side. And that concept is so scary to me from a horror perspective. Like as someone who consumes horror and likes horror, this is just so creepy and scary. And I want to get back to a point where walkers are scary again. They are. This is creepy, right? It's climbing up the side of the building. Jerry is like immobile in this moment and like unable to protect himself. And this guy's just going to come up. And then Aaron's like, you're like, oh, okay, it's okay. Aaron's going to get him. And then Aaron goes to like hit him. And the guy, like, he's like fighting back. And you're like,
Yeah.
Oh, is Aaron gonna die right now? Like, I'm not okay with this.
And the first thing that he does when he gets up there is pick up that huge ass rock too.
So scary. I mean,
Yeah.
I loved it personally, but I get where you're coming from. It's risky.
But well, it was just the planning thing. That was the only thing that really fucked me up. It's like, oh, he went back and opened the door for the rest of them. That's what got me. Everything else, I'm totally effing fine with. But and actually, it's funny. Until you had mentioned that, I didn't really register that that's what happened. Like, oh, he opened the door for everybody else. Anyway, so
Well, one excellent impression of me, by the way, and then two,
actually, it was me making fun of me watching the thing. But yeah,
it was
in my
only
head.
because of the sound engineering that occurred at that point
Yeah.
in the episode. They were very intentional about what they did, right? There was like the initial first sound, and so you're like, okay, that's the walker jumping the fence. And then there's a second and a third sound. And so you're like, okay.
So wait, Bridget,
so what was that?
Are you saying you write this show?
I do. I do. You know what?
I love the way you're telling this,
I
actually.
often go uncredited in episodes, but yes, I indeed write this show.
We will restore your glory.
was just really, there's so many great
cool,
episodes of this great moments in this episode, but that was one of them. And it's just as simple as just having great sound design. And it sets up this whole story that you're not even being shown, which I love.
Right.
Of all the people who should have known that was not a whisperer, Lydia should have known that those were not whisperers.
What reason did she have to know that they're not whisperers, though? I mean, I feel like I would be thinking the same thing. Like, a walker can't open a door, so somebody had to let them in. And I'm not thinking that walkers have evolved. And we know that whisperers ran out there. I mean, Bethany K is one of them. We saw her run out. They're still out there somewhere. So I would be thinking that it could be.
You know what? Can I take this a little bit further? If there were whisperers out there and there are variants in the mix, I'm almost convinced that like the variants would have taken care of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
you know what I mean?
would be
like they would know
to
the
be
difference.
a whisperer right now with being surrounded by walkers with variants, because they'd be like, yeah, not falling for it.
Yum, 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 yum.
In regards to Lydia not knowing, I actually thought it was one of those moments where your brain is just really trying to make sense of everything that's happening. And so you're not really necessarily thinking logically because your brain is just trying to fill in the missing pieces, right? So it's like, okay, looks like a walker grabbing onto my weapon. That's not normal. So but it can't be a walker. So it's got to be a whisperer, even though that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I just felt like her brain was just trying to fill in those blanks for her.
To Sharondy's point, she should be able to recognize them though, right? Like looking out into the crowd, she would know what they would look like versus a regular walker.
I'm just saying that, right, after being around whisperers for 6 years, of anybody who would recognize that these are not whisperers, Lydia should have been the one. Even the one that grabbed your weapon.
She would know that's not a whisperer.
Especially after stabbing it in the shoulder and it just keeps going.
And not screaming.
Because a whisperer would have at least gone, ow, and this is not doing that. So like, this is like a small nitpick, right? But I'm just like, of all the people that were there in this situation, Lydia should have been like, no, these aren't whisperers because they're not acting like whisperers. Something is off.
Well, in her defense, she doesn't confirm or affirm what Aaron says at all.
Right. But what I'm saying is, when he said that, she should have been like, no, these aren't whisperers.
Something as simple as like, I don't see any whisperers. And she would recognize what they look like versus a regular walker. Out of anybody, she would know more than anyone. I agree. They could have just thrown in a little line like, well, I don't see any. Let's get a closer look or something. Right, you know?
I'm glad that she didn't, because in the absence of an answer, I think having Aaron saying it's a whisperer, which shows like, first of all, there's different responses to a crisis situation, like an immediate high adrenaline, high panic inducing situation. Of course, Aaron has to have the answer now in order to be able to deal with it. While Lydia doesn't say anything and probably assumes, I'll just go with this guy because we need to figure this out now. So like, I'm glad she didn't say anything at all, because she doesn't in her own way affirm or deny that claim. She just goes, okay, I'm just going with this guy because I don't know what the fuck just happened here. That's why I like that scene.
It also kind of showcases, like, in this whole episode does this, like, every interaction that we've seen with Aaron in this episode, that he truly is viewed as a leader in their group, because
that's where I was going with that.
Because they follow him, even though his idea admittedly isn't super stellar. Taking a wagon off road? Come on. I mean, and it's full. It's not that it's empty, it's full. That is not a wise decision. But it was the decision that he made in that moment because he felt like that was going to be what was best, one, safety-wise, and two, time-wise, because he's very concerned about the time element in this episode. Mm-hmm. And I get that. And I get it because we're also like, what happened at Oceanside? And like, I want to know, is everybody okay?
No rush, Aaron. They're all dead.
That's my fear.
and you know what? Speaking of all the note-taking that we've ever taken, let's really take a moment to appreciate why he has this affinity for Oceanside. And it's that he took this huge, talk about gambles, and we'll get to that, Lance and Pamela, at some point. But like, talk about a person who really bet on Oceanside a couple of times in moments where I was at the time, I was like, you really shouldn't. You can cut your losses. I mean, I know it's the Saviors, but maybe not them. And almost died. And they ended up taking him in and giving him food and making him feel better and all that stuff. And saying, not affirming that they would help him, but just at least consider it, which is a huge thing. So, of course, after that gamble and after they actually Oceanside did end up coming to Hilltop and saving them, I think he has this very, very big affinity. And of course, his trips down there with Enid at the time, you know, there was a special moment in time for him. So of course he wants to make sure that they're safe after making him safe and saving everybody, all the people that he loves.
Yeah.
You know, so that really kind of brings us back.
And, you know, Jerry gives him a little bit of pushback, but when Aaron says, like, this is what needs to happen, he falls in line. And so I think it just really was a testament to, like, how much of a leader Aaron is to these people. And that is a level of growth that we've seen from afar in a very slow way. And so I think this was really impactful.
Like, we needed this scene to finally happen to affirm his place in these communities, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, we did see some of that stuff in the council and all that, all those dealings and stuff
definitely.
like that.
But just to see people from other communities be like, this guy, he knows. Yeah. We'll just go along with him. We trust him.
And in a sense, had he figured it out right away, I don't know if I would have bought it. No. I'm kind of more happy that he assumed that it was a whisperer. And the whole situation was completely confusing. And so we kind of go on that, you know, that like ride that we were on, like, walk zombies. What are these? The dead come back to life? What? You know, that we have that moment again. It's like when we saw Blair Gina, where Blair comes back, she has her first repeat. They were dead. He was dead. The truck driver was dead. And then he came back. Like that aha moment. We get like another aha moment. And then, of course, is the face of terror as they go to commercial break. Well, we have to deal with this shit now. What? Beautiful. Chef's kiss. So I brought up Lance and Pamela. We talked about gambles with Oceanside. Why don't we bring it to that scene? Because it's not a big scene, and it allows us to kind of go back to some of the other earlier moments in the episode where we see Pamela and Sebastian. Because those aren't very huge scenes. They are huge visually, as you may have seen in the Dave Reacts, where I kind of lost my fucking mind, where we got to see Sebastian turn. And I was like, there's more Teo? Why didn't you tell me?
Teo,
like,
you son of a bitch. You didn't say anything.
It must have injured his soul to not tell me, I'm not off the show yet. But and now we have to talk to him again this Sunday so that before the next episode, so we can include it in this episode. But I got you guys. I'm back on the show still. They didn't kill him at the end of this episode. So Walker Sebastian persists.
Oh no, Pamela's fully pulling a governor right now.
I so want him to bite Pamela.
Why? I'm curious. Like, what is it? What is it about
because
it?
Wouldn't that just be the most poetic justice type thing to have him take her out of all people?
I'm going to say yes. And what would make it even be cooler is her like going out like Carol would have in the comics. She'd be like, yes, this is how it's meant to be.
No.
Well, and of course, when he
Carol
does
walks right
bite
into
her,
the walker in the cup. No, I don't see Pamela doing that. She's not going to give up on everything.
Why I say this is because, like, in that scenario, she has no other option. Is where my mind is at. Like, because of course it's like near her end, and she has nowhere to go, and she's like, yeah, this makes sense.
So things are going to get worse for Pamela, and that's how she would end it.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
She's backed into a corner. She's like, no, this makes sense.
Not right now.
This is how it should. No, not nearly. Not before she fucks some more shit up. I'm sure. But let's go back to where we're at now. Let's start with Pamela admitting to her dead Sebastian in her own way, saying, I thought there would be more time. And this concept pops up everywhere, even with Mercer and Princess, even with Aaron talking about Eric, because it's implied. Aaron says no to Eric because, you know, it's pre-apocalypse. I could fuck around with this guy a little bit. Like, no, Eric, no, I don't know. I will not go out with you. But like that shit shouldn't happen in the apocalypse. And, you know, Lydia, as much as she's going through something and trying to imagine a life of her own with somebody else, Eric's just trying to tell her, like,
Aaron's trying to tell her.
Yeah, or Aaron was trying to tell her, like, yeah, I mean, listen, it's up to you, but like, you're the one in control here, and life is short. It's not as long as you think it's going to be. And so take the good, like Carol says in the previous episode, take the moments where you can get them. Even if you're wrong, just take the moments where you can get them. But going back to Pamela, she sort of says the same thing to Sebastian while he's dead. You'd think there'd be more time to, and she even admits, to control you. I tried, I guess. Where do you think Pamela is at? Because obviously she wants to look for somebody to pay. And obviously she's doing that to maintain some sense of order. But is it just to maintain a sense of order? Are we moving into territory where like it's all about her? Now it's actively all about her.
Well, the only way she stays safe is to maintain order. She has to keep up appearances and keep it under control, because if she doesn't, then everything will crumble. She's kind of what's holding it together right now, right? She has to make the appearance and make it look like she's in charge, because that's how she stays safe. Even if she has nobody left, she has no Sebastian left, she's got no family left, she's got nothing left, but
she has herself.
She still has herself, and the only way she stays safe is by keeping the Commonwealth safe.
Well, and that makes her a particularly dangerous person, because if you have nobody or nothing personally to have to live for, doesn't that make you the most dangerous person in a sense? Especially if you make this all about you now.
Well, yeah.
Right.
She's going to do whatever she can to survive, right? Yeah, and she has absolutely nothing to lose.
Oof.
I hate that she knows, she clearly blames Hornsby and yet is using a different fall guy, because she's like, no, you're going to be my bitch now and you're going to do what I need you to do. Feed my son, because I am the governor now, apparently.
Right?
Well, to make that point clearer, like she knows that Lance had sent his goons out, Calhoun and Shira, to create that Walker fiasco, to further exacerbate what was already going to happen.
And you'll notice only one of them is dead.
Dum, bum, ba, bum.
Yes, I'm very curious to know where Shira is at the moment.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's next to feed Sebastian.
Well, maybe they have her on ice. Exactly.
Yeah, she's her body's still warm. They gotta keep her alive so they can kill her right before her. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, they have to keep her right. Good point. They have to feed her a little bit, give her a little time to.
Yeah, plump her up.
Yeah, exactly.
Give her some rhubarb pie.
Even in death, he'll live better than most other people.
Lance, we're done.
I'm talking about
Sebastian.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. Wow.
Is Shira gonna have oh my God, they're after me now, so let me switch sides and I'm gonna go let Eugene out because we had something at one time and maybe I can get him to believe me. And
maybe
I wouldn't be mad at that as much as like I was just as like when she did what she did, like kicking Eugene in the stomach and stuff like that. I still kind of, because it kind of goes back to the opening nostalgia sequence. Like I literally wrote it down because I thought it was really cool what Judith says in the beginning with the Eugene centered nostalgia montage. She says, sometimes I wonder if it takes more courage to live or die. We've all done things to be here, things we'd like to forget. We became whoever we needed to be. Maybe that's Shira. I don't know. But who we are now, the choices we make now, maybe that's all that matters. But but at the same time, we have to really, really think about this because Mercer's in that right now. Mm-hmm. And of course, we come in with our favorites and we come in knowing who the good guys and the bad guys are. Sort of. Because you never know what bad guy is going to turn good guy, quote, I'm using air quotes, later on. I mean, look at Dwight. We were trying to stay consciously aware that he was a dirtbag when he came over to Fear. And yet, when we saw him trying to evolve and figure himself out now that he was not under the specter of Negan, I saw it one by one, all of us warmed up to him. In this weird, and especially, and it's just like it happens over time. And as soon as he sees Sherry in season 6, we're all like, okay, I'm crying now. Why am I crying now? This guy's a jerk.
I'm crying now. And he shot Denise in the eye.
In the fucking eye socket.
I can't even handle it. It was like the most upsetting scene. But,
like you hate yourself for crying, and yet you're crying. So could Shira be the same way?
He wasn't aiming at Denise. I
mean,
it was an accident.
But he was aiming at Daryl. He was aiming at my boy after he stole his bike. He's a real punk, and his vest, and his crossbow. He's the worst.
Hey, Sharon.
I love him now, though.
I think Sharon is going to be on my side with this one. At the time, I was like, okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. Take out Daryl, whatever.
Yeah, because I was like, not Denise.
Well, I mean, I was distraught over Denise. I was distraught over that.
Especially what she was trying to say at the time.
I know.
Like, just, you gotta live, guys.
Well, I mean, isn't that the perfect microcosm of this show? I just said it last week. The minute you try to turn a new leaf over, whether it's to have a redemption arc or change who you are, like Denise was changing from the shy, scared, can't do anything to a strong, I'm gonna go out there and do this, kill these walkers and get a soda for my girlfriend, and she died just like Sebastian died.
Well,
And Cindy tried to turn over a new leaf.
Isn't this show like just very clearly trying to tell all of us, yes, this is about the post-apocalypse, right? This is also about life now. Change now. Change while you still can enjoy the benefits of change. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until you regret it. Change now.
I thought the show was just telling me to be a shitbag because they're the ones that survive, right? Don't change at all. Just be the same person you have been and you'll be fine.
Well, but though, that's the thing. Like, but what is that? What is that? Because we all say it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be the person you were meant to be. But how do you even know who you're meant to be? Do you just fall into it? This is kind of why I like the idea of Shira making some sort of alliance with our gang, because she has nowhere to go. She's going to be the next.
I could see that happening, but the way that everything played out in the episode really led me to believe that Mercer is actually going to be the one to let Eugene out.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I don't know about let Eugene out.
That's what I was led to believe. Based on what happened, it just really seemed like to me that the fact that Eugene came forward and took the blame, even though Mercer knows full well what his sister did because she admitted it to him and told him exactly what happened. He sees the man who his sister loves show up and just like a majestic, mulleted white knight just lay down his life and say, no, it was me and she did nothing and I did it all.
You could see Mercer's face change when Eugene said, and Maxine had nothing to do with it, I did it all by myself. You could just see Mercer shift and the gears start turning in his head. That was actually probably one of my favorite scenes just because of that. Just that little shift. Awesome work, Michael James Shaw. That little shift in his face. Just,
yeah.
But yep, he is firmly 100% on Eugene's side now. 100%.
The facial acting that he portrayed in this episode was incredible. It's not even just that scene.
I agree.
Yeah.
And no, you're right. It wasn't just that scene. But going back to what you were saying, Sharon, I don't think he's on his side just yet. But I do think, because there's a perfect call and response moment. The call is Maxine saying, she's echoing something that her father had said to her that of course Mike knows. Speak truth no matter what the cost. And Mercer's father was also a general, which kind of does bring back the whole nepotism thing too again. He was a general, so of course Mercer is going to be a general, right? You got to follow your dad. But she also follows that up with a 1-2 punch saying, our dad would have been proud of Eugene. Dad would have been ashamed of you. So the response is Eugene, the one who her dad would have been proud of, coming up, saving Max. Mercer is trying to save Max by doing the wrong thing. Eugene is trying to save Max by doing the right thing. And so it was really cool to see, oh, fuck, she's right in his face. That's what it was. I still think he's going to struggle, though. And I'm hoping they can extend this as long as humanly possible, because we do all think that Mike Mercer, General Mike Mercer, is a fucking awesome dude. But it's kind of like what he was saying on Talking Dead last week. His compartmentalizing, his putting the Commonwealth in one bucket and his personal entanglements in another, and what he knows is right on another, is going to fuck him up. And that's why in our podcast graphics, he blends into the moon, because we don't know if he's in the shadow with our gang or if he's at the center of it all, you know, and if he's at the center of all this conflict. I love the facial expressions. Can I take a sidebar? Sort of, because there was that scene with Princess. After that scene, there's something that Mike, because it's Michael James Shaw and it's Mike Mercer, something that Mike did in his acting that really triggered me. Princess was getting up from the floor and Mike reaches out to sort of like at the end of it, help her up. Like his brain was kind of trying to catch up with the moment. And it triggered me because what you guys don't know maybe is that like when I was in high school and even afterwards, I did a lot of community theater. But there was this one moment in high school where I joined the drama troupe and I was trying out for it. And I was caught in this scene. I was supposed to be playing like this unappreciative husband in this one, like just this one improv scene. And I was playing against somebody who was just doing a really convincing job of being this woman who's finally just had it with me. And she goes off on me. And there's no script to this. She just completely unloads on me. I come home and I'm all like mad because she's like, where's my fucking dinner? You know, I'm trying to sit down and watch my shows. What are you fucking bothering me for? Like I'm doing that thing. And all of a sudden she unloads and I got completely ejected from where I was, my headspace was. She like hit me hard. And so when he was doing that, I felt the same thing. Like I like it hit me on top of hitting me because it was so personal. I felt like almost, and I know this is not the case because Michael James Shaw is a terrific actor, but like I felt like he could be forgiven for being like, damn, this girl brought it. You know, like as Michael James Shaw, like this girl, I don't know what to do here. So like everything he was doing was so authentic to the experience. Like he's compartmentalizing. He doesn't know how to handle this. He wants to do what's right. He wants to do what's good for the Commonwealth, but he also loves this woman and he doesn't want her to leave. It hit me on those, like these multiple levels where like I didn't know what to do on that stage. And the coach knew it. And he said, that's great, folks. That's great. Let's go to the next scene that we're going to set up now. And that I'm just going to say this on the side. Until that moment, I thought I was pretty good. But that moment still haunts me today. And it really shook my confidence as an actor. Even though like I was in plays thereafter, I did a lot of musical theater-y kind of parts and stuff like that. But I can't get it out of my head. Think about like so many cool things in your life that never show up on the big stage and are never going to be something that's famous, but something that cool that you saw that other people don't know about. Like I thought I saw an actor do something really cool who probably never went into acting ever again. This girl got married, probably had kids, never went into acting ever again. But like, it was like one of the most powerful performances I ever had. And it just brought me out. It made me Dave Cameo instead of shitbag husband #1, you know? And it's amazing. Sorry. I felt that was so powerful. Like, yes, Paola was really powerful in that scene, but like what Mike did just really like, just hit me really hard. I don't know. Sorry. It's weird. And maybe it's because he's the guy in the scenario too. And I've been in these sort of conversations with other people before telling me really hard truths. So like there's that factor as well. Like, and yeah, there were moments where I didn't know what to say. Shocking.
So first of all, I thought that Paola was freaking amazing in that scene. Just the choices that she made. When she says, fuck that thinking, it could be better too. She kind of smiles when she says it could be better too, but then immediately she's back. The way she says, I just loved that choice. That was probably my favorite scene of the entire episode was that one with her and Mercer.
You know what I really like about that? Because that's the crescendo, right? That's the last, like, okay, you could see her trying to verbalize that from the very first scene with she and Mike. She's in the police station and it's not something she has completely worked out yet. She's with Ezekiel in that next scene. And she tells him some things and she's like, oh, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Then when she gets to Mike, it's like, okay, I've worked it out. And here's what I've got for you, Mike. Because I knew that we were going to have this conversation, maybe. And so she lays it out all on him and lays it out in a way that I love you, but this is why I need to go. It builds up.
And I love how she makes sure to tell him that even though she sees men as monsters because of that she doesn't think he's one. And I think what she's also saying is, even though you're part of the Commonwealth, I don't think that you are buying in. You're a part of the Commonwealth. You believe in the good part of the Commonwealth, not the underbelly. She was trying to say that I believe in you, that you're not one of these people.
And you know, I didn't think of this until you just said it. That plays very well with the relationship that Rosita and he have too. They do have this mutual respect, even though in this moment it feels like he's being antagonistic. I think Rosita still does have that in her. He just needs to catch up.
It's really hard seeing a character like Princess, who is just so happy and so upbeat all the time, to see her kind of beat down like that, to hear about some of the shit that she had to go through, to hear that and know her as a character and see her still being so happy and having such a positive outlook on life.
Well, refusing not to be not happy.
She's still able to be so happy and look on the good side of things and recognize that she was talking to Ezekiel about, you know, I know this place looks nice, but maybe underneath it's all crap. I had this feeling that she was kind of talking about Mercer too. Maybe he just looks nice, but really underneath he's a piece of crap too. But we know that's not true. I think we know.
Maybe she does.
And she probably does too. I think maybe, you know, it was an emotional moment for her, just being angry at the situation and the fact that she said, you say you're doing everything, but are you really doing everything that you can?
Because she's not wrong, right?
She's not wrong. God, and Paula just fucking knocked it out of the park. Look what she's fucking doing to me. To see a character that I relate to so much just be beaten down like that, you know? It's hard. I try to be happy and positive all the time, but it's hard when shit just sucks sometimes.
I tend to be like looking on the other side of it, the brighter side of her character in those moments. What I took away from that, obviously learning about how bad it was one thing, but learning also that she raised hell, that she refused to give in to the idea that this is the way it should be throughout.
Yeah.
That's actually what got me. In spite of everything, fuck you. That's not how this is supposed to be. Who is that? That's what her superpower is. And then as you were talking, I was like, of course she's friends with Ezekiel, because isn't that, and yet I smile?
Kind of what he does too, yeah.
Look, I feel like a Johnny come lately. Like, hey guys, hey, isn't that, and yet I smile? But like, it's not as obvious until you kind of put it that way, or like until we saw it on the screen in this episode. It's like, wait, that's like, I refuse to bow to the forces of oppression. Let's just be dramatic like Ezekiel. Like, I refuse to bow to those forces that are trying to weigh me down. And yet I smile. And yet I raise hell like Princess. So of course they're fucking friends. And I have a question to this, because I think half of you read the comics, Bridget and Rachel.
Yeah.
Is Princess even on the scene when Ezekiel eventually dies at the Pikes? But Princess isn't even a part of the universe until, so isn't that fucking great?
They never even met.
That like we get this. We get to have this.
Yeah.
That these two characters get to mirror each. I mean, maybe Princess is a sort of response to the Ezekiel being gone, like replacement. But isn't it great to have both of these characters mirror each other in a sense? Oh, okay. Let's take this even further. And Ezekiel is basically her future. This could be you. You don't have to run away. The options aren't sit there and take it or run away. I'm here. I'm doing it, Princess. So like, this is what it could be. You could work through this. You could fight. You don't have to go back to what you felt like you had to do and raise hell or just get GTFO. You could work through this. He's worth it. And I think the next episode might be his response is that like, he's going to show her that not only are men not monsters, but I can be the example that no, they don't all have to be monsters by default. I can show you that they're not all like that. And I like that that's a possibility. This is the thing about the show that I'm a little scared about, is that we expect that Mike's going to do the right thing. And I'm a little terrified that he won't now that we're talking about this, because that would be the cool twist. Like, he makes a huge mistake and fucks things up. Okay, because I'm sorry to bring everybody down. Because
Linda would be so upset.
Yeah, she would.
You guys touched on a lot of it already, right? Like, the acting was phenomenal in that moment. Dave, you probably know this from an actor perspective, because I did small town theater myself. Those are the scenes as an actor that you just beg for. That's the character you want to play. The one who's got this big emotional moment where they have like a breakthrough and it's over the top and intense. So like, from an acting perspective, it's like so cool that she got that Paula got that.
You don't want to be Mike in that scenario. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he did a he did a fantastic job playing off of that. That's like the gold that you're looking for as an actor, is those moments where you feel like this is really going to showcase someone out there's emotions, and I'm going to be able to tap into that. I don't know Paula's life. She has made it seem to me, the things that she has said, is that Princess is similar to her in a lot of ways. Not 100%. Because she often jokes about, this is like the Paula Princess. This is where we meet. This is the mix.
At like age 7 is what she specifically said on New York Comic Con, I think it was.
So my childhood wasn't that level. But to live through trauma and to know pain and to have someone say that, this is the shit that makes me love this show. I got teary-eyed watching it the first time. I cried. I got teary-eyed watching it again yesterday, as you were like, and almost got me, and I was like, it got me. I'm getting teary-eyed now just talking about it. It was so impactful and so intense and so beautifully done. But on top of all of that, isn't it always the case that like the happiest people you know have just been through the most shit? So doesn't this just make sense from like a world view? Of course, because you have to be that happy to be able to make it another day. I can't wake up in the morning and decide today's going to be the day that I'm just going to let it all get to me. Like, I can't.
I'm laughing because I get it.
I can't.
Wow.
Right? I have to get up. I have to keep going, and I have to push through all of it. And that's just me having a different trauma and different stuff, but like it being similar enough that I'm like, yeah, girl, for sure. It sucks. And Charity was right. That smile for that split second in that delivery.
Fucking A.
Dude, she's like, but she's right. And honestly, everyone who watched that episode, I really hope that you genuinely took that away from this. It doesn't have to suck. And I have told myself so many times in my life that it could be worse. You're getting hit, but it could be worse. No, dude, no. Just no. It could be so much better. And that was just, I still do that to myself now. So like hearing that, it's like, that's going to play and live in my head rent free for the rest of my life. It could be better. Just
like, fuck that. Yeah. It could be better. It should be better.
I want everyone to like have walked away from that and really hear that. And the other scene that she had with Ezekiel, which we haven't talked about as much, but that other scene also had a really beautiful moment where she said, maybe I don't deserve the best of a bad situation. And Ezekiel says, yeah, you don't. You don't. You deserve good in your life. And like, I'm looking at you, whoever is watching this right now, you deserve better. Okay. I'm not saying go out there and be an asshole because your life is already pretty good and like you deserve, but like if you've been through some shit, you deserve more. You deserve better. And it's okay to have it. And it's okay to love yourself and to be loved by other people.
That took me a fucking long time to realize myself. Like when you were talking about abuse, I've talked about this with you, and I've been down that road, and I've literally said in my head, I guess I deserve this.
Because you let it beat you down.
Because if it's not something I must have done, it's that I didn't do enough about it to stop it. Yeah,
and then it's so cyclical because it's either I feel like I deserve this in this moment because I made a mistake or whatever. But after that, it's always, I don't deserve to get out of this because I got myself here.
Or that I don't have fucking value, inherent value in the world. That I'm not owed that. That's the big takeaway. And that's what I love so much about her performance is that it's written that way. We have to remember that. But what we're marveling at is that she owns it. And it's a very rare thing in this show. We don't get characters like this in this show very often. The closest that we've ever gotten, I'm trying to figure out if I'm right about this, very much Glenn, very much Rick, but more than anybody else, Herschel. It's not even just an archetype, but a paragon of how one ought to conduct themselves in the world. Hey, be like this. Can I be like this? A lot of the characters on the show are like, I mean, I like what he's doing here, but he's not all that great, or she's not all that great. She's done some things, but what has this person done ever? I mean, yes, she almost blowed them up on the minefield, whatever. But like, that was, she's trying to impress them, right? But what I'm saying is like, how often do you get a character that's, as the kids say, she's so pure. She's pretty innocent. You don't get that in this universe. And I love that they kind of keep going by making her an example of somebody who survived abuse that's on the other side of it. That not only do I deserve better, I refuse to accept anything else other than better. That is very rare because usually in performances, it's like, there's that struggle. No, there's no struggle. This is it. I deserve better than this. And you feel her working up to verbalizing it throughout the episode. She's got it in the beginning. She gets it a lot better with Zeke, but she kind of hones in on it and delivers it to Mike saying, hey, listen, I love you, but this is the reality. Don't say it could be worse. It could be better. Wonder Woman 84, Pedro Pascal. That went through my mind too.
Life is good, but it can be better.
Anyway, sorry.
Let's not talk about Pedro Pascal and things being better.
Oh, you take one death and then you get spun off into The Last of Us, The Mandalorian, Wonder Woman 84. His career took off since his eyeballs popped out of his fucking skull, or popped into his fucking skull, more like.
Hey, spoilers.
Spoilers, Game of Thrones spoilers, everybody. The big elephant trunk in the room.
Oh God.
Let's talk about that one scene where Pamela's digging into his pockets, fishing for some
I thought that
Cucumbers.
scene was going a way different direction.
I, for real, was like, what is she doing?
Chef's kiss.
What
Chef's
is she
kiss.
doing?
Well, she was just,
There
like,
goes my
petting
theory
him
about
and, like,
them
caressing
being
his face, and
related.
then, it got creepy really fast.
It's like they saw the principal photography from the last episode and said, "Oh, they're gonna love this," and I did. I was like, keep playing with this weird ass tension. I know that you guys are disgusting. Who was the one that was really disgusting? I think it's
didn't
great.
hate it. I loved the scene because I like the weird tension. Like you said, I was really digging that. But when she reached into his pocket, I was just like, whoa, wait.
We all went, whoa, you
is
saw my
this?
face.
She's like, what are we going to do
did
with you? I wasn't sure if she was talking to
Did
him.
they do that
or-
on? I wonder, like, did they do
His
that on
cock.
purpose, knowing that was how we were all gonna react, or was it just an unfortunate angle of shooting that they didn't really consider when they did it? Because I mean, I have never
think they
in the show
considered it
before has
very
my
well.
mind gone directly to, oh my gosh, she's getting ready to grab his what? Huh? So
Yeah.
I was just, I
Pamela's
don't know.
got
It
some
just,
pocket
it was like if they were doing it on purpose, what was the point? Just a little shock value to make us jump, or what was the purpose behind making it look like she was getting ready to grab his twig and berries?
I think it was trying to clarify a relationship that we haven't really seen much of. And I don't mean like that there's actually a relationship. That is by no means what I mean. I mean that she knows that Lance is under her thumb, possibly because of sexual interest or just because of the power dynamic and he gets off on that. I don't really know. But she knows what he wants. She's not going to give it to him.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like on top of the layers and upon layers of trying to scheme his way into power, essentially, or graces, it's his like little Achilles heel that he does have a thing for her and she knows it. And I think what's great about that is it kind of goes back to what he was trying to say to Eugene by proxy, Maxine. You can't defeat the Miltons. They're just unbeatable. But maybe that's just the case for him because he can't. It's like playing with fire for him. He has to sort of scheme his way into Pamela's good graces by default.
It's like Andrea and the governor.
Yeah.
Chance to kill him and she couldn't do it because she couldn't keep it in her pants.
Exactly. It's like his Achilles heel is like, well, you know, I mean, I want to have a taste of power, but I actually kind of dig this lady. Or maybe it's a thing for him. Maybe
I want a
he
taste of something
thrives-
else. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna give that Milton between the legs. But I mean,
I hate myself.
I don't know.
Right now, I hate myself so much.
I love you, Bridget. Thank you so
I
much.
hate myself for that statement.
Is that what we think is going on here? Is that we're all clear on the facts on this one?
See, I never got a feeling that Lance wanted to have any kind of relations with Pamela, if that's what you're saying. I never, ever got that feel from them.
Doesn't every man want to fuck every woman? Isn't that just
I mean,
basic
but I'm
male
saying I
mentality?
never saw
From
I never
experience,
saw
I
that, that
can
was
tell
something-
you that's not true.
Yeah, I never saw that as something that they were trying to put up between them. I never saw that. So that was why I'm like confused as to why they made this overtly.
You're saying in scenes prior.
Right, throughout, well, since the Commonwealth since we've known Lance and Pamela, I've never seen that between them. Or him wanting that from her. The only thing he wants
I
from her
agree.
is power.
yeah.
To be fair, we haven't seen a ton of interactions directly between the two of them either.
Well, except for that one scene in
But-
B,
Well,
which is
and
what I
there
think what
have
Sherry's
been, there
referring
have
to.
been scenes with them alone together that had not been sexual in any way. And I feel like if that was where they were going with their relationship, we would have seen a lot more hinting of that. That's why it kind of felt out of left field to me, because I was like, wait, why is she doing that? But I mean, I can see if it's like her asserting her dominance over him. Like, watch, I can even reach in here and grab your twig and berries, and you can't stop me. Like, but
I could
other
grab
than
your
that,
coin.
yeah.
She should have peed on him then. If that
It's
was,
heads.
you know, if she was trying to establish dominance, she should have just peed
But
right on him.
Let's just take this a little further, because in the prior scenes, he wasn't in as big trouble as he was in those two specific moments where we see him in this third trimester. He's exposed, in trouble, and maybe there's something. And I'm not saying this is it. I'm just flirting with the idea. See, I'm just going to keep going with these puns. That the fact that he's this exposed is sort of exciting to him. And maybe it's not even Pamela herself. per se, but just that he gets off on the risk or the thrill of being, oh, I'm in trouble. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even have to be her, but she is the highest authority. And she's deigning to, ooh, principal. What am I in trouble for now?
He wants a dominatrix, is what you're saying.
He's a sub. He is a sub. I think we've cracked it, folks. We've cracked it, folks.
That's a wrap.
But on a serious note, though, in a similar fashion, and I'm really not upset or perturbed, but confused that even Angela Kang didn't acknowledge this at the time. Because I don't know why they chose not to, and I mentioned this earlier, I don't know why they didn't choose to include Jesus Paul Rovia, in Aaron's conversation with Lydia. Because in similar fashion, there wasn't explicitly mention of any relationship, well, like, other than training with Aaron and Jesus.
They didn't establish that Aaron and Jesus had a relationship. They were together in the comic books, and so the comic book readers saw what they wanted to see, but they were not an on-screen couple at all.
Right, it wasn't explicitly said, but like what I'm saying is that you could still even imply that in those sessions there might have been something. I mean, the tension was there.
I definitely saw it, but I wanted to.
The eyes were there. Exactly.
I wanted to see it.
And so maybe in similar fashion, by not explicitly really saying it, but us going, what is going on here, they're actually saying it. It's just like when you see a piece of art that utilizes negative space. It's just so satisfying to watch. You don't have to say everything, because sometimes it allows us to kind of extrapolate what this could be, or even what Aaron and Jesus could be. It wasn't explicitly said, but we can imagine what those private fighting sessions might have been like. So
are you saying this is like the opposite side of the hate bang coin?
Oh, I'm gonna make you say it.
I feel like there's a lot more tension between Maggie and Negan than there ever has been between Pamela and Lance. I've never felt that in prior scenes. I didn't feel sexual tension in this. That didn't feel it was sexual in the sense that she stuck her hand in his pants and was groping around, but it didn't feel.
But wasn't he kind of like moany? I felt like he was a little moany in that moment.
Because he had a little bony.
It just didn't feel that way to me.
Insert Billy Idol's song here, please. Thank you.
I see what you mean. I think really though what it was, like I said before, I think a little of that has to do with, and you know what? Josh Hamilton sort of does say this in the behind the scenes every so often too. He gets a thrill out of the risk. Okay, can we go to the scene where he was describing how he wanted Norman Reedus to pull his hair harder? It's not because Josh Hamilton gets off on it. He's embodying the character because the character loves having his hair pulled. He's really embodying this sub mentality. He's embodying, I love it when I get in trouble because I get excited about all the ways I can try to get out of it.
Finally have something in common with
Guys.
Here.
Wait, I got one more thing. Remember what we said? We said this offline, but we didn't get a chance to say it in the episode. We said it in the premiere of 17 and 18, our last episode, 203. But we said when he goes after Daryl in the minivan, he's leading the charge with the snub-nosed revolver. He is not behind his men. So there's something about his risk behavior. It kind of goes back to what Eugene asks Daryl. It's like, what... Are brave men born or bred? Maybe Lance was born this way. Like he's born to put himself in risk. And so that kind of somewhat describes him in a sense. I'm not saying he's brave. I'm just saying that
there are people that get off on risk. I mean, look at people that base jump and parachute and ride wild horses and climb freaking light towers over city. I mean, there are people that get off
on steel tight ropes. Yeah. Right. Yeah, high tension wires.
If you want risk, you're in a world that's full of risk, man. You don't have to go looking for it.
And there's various iterations of what that could be. And there are people who like to put themselves in, and this is like the height of sexual tension, like to put themselves in almost unwinnable situations in order to get themselves out of it. They get off on that. They get off on either the problem solving aspect of it or like seeing the mess that they get to clean up later and make look perfect. I mean, that in its own way is putting yourself in an awful situation just to see yourself get out of it. We all, in some way, love that situation. But he, on the other hand, gets a little sexual rise out of it, I think. So it's like you said, Charity, I don't think it's a personal, like, oh, it's Pamela Milton that he's after. Well, I don't think it's that at all. I think there's something about the situation that's like, yes, I'm in trouble. Now, how do I get out of it? How do I mount this stallion? I don't know how to put this.
One of the moves I loved in that scene was when he heard them opening the door, he raised up on his knees. He was sitting kind of down on his feet. I mean, he was on his knees, but he was kind of resting on his feet. I may be on my knees, but I'm still going to get up and face her as much as I can.
Reading the trouble that he's in. He's meeting it. He's expecting to get out of it. And I love that when he finds out that she knows everything, he was knocked back, and he was probably even more excited that he was found out. Oh, a new level to this tension, to this trouble that I must be in. This all kind of fits. He's even more exposed, like you said, Bridget. Yeah.
I bet that fucker made squat cobbler tapes back before the fucking apocalypse.
Better call Hornsby. We still haven't made his logo. It's a bee with his stinger up in the air, blowing a trumpet. Just had to let that linger in the air for a little while. Oh, it's floating away. There it is. Anyway,
I don't like it.
Throughout the last couple episodes, what I keep calling him Mike Mercer. What Mercer is shown, because it's Maxine is Mercer also. So anyway, what Mercer finds out or is shown is that not all the people are following the rules. Giving Maxine the forced confession, he's lucky she didn't sign it. That's kind of like, like the devil put his card down on the table. He's like, oh, I'm going in on this. And she says, no, I'm not going to let you be that. I'm not going to let you be like them, because they don't follow the rules. And now you're going to do it too, Mike. Your father would be ashamed of you. And she saves him from that, just like she was trying to save Eugene from that. So it's kind of interesting to see that stack, how some people just refuse to let others go into the darkness. Now, you're going to have to try a lot harder than that, Mr. Mercer, General Mercer. I did like the irony in that.
I'd like to talk about Daryl and Eugene's scene for just a second, because I just thought it was really cool. And I know we touched on it earlier. He was like squaring up.
Put him up.
Which I love. But like, just talk about evolution of characters, man. I mean, yeah, Gimple said it at New York Comic Con. I thought he was being a little facetious with his Pokemon statement. What a nerd. What a nerd. Love him. So
never change.
Never change, you big dork. I really enjoyed that one. That he would ever do that in the first place. Eugene from the beginning would never
put up his Dukes.
Would never have squared up against Daryl ever. So that was great. During the scene, I was thinking, like, where is this going? They're not going to fight. What's going to happen? So,
by the way, and it's odd that you go from weird tension between Pamela and Lance to this weird scene where it just keeps going.
You're like, what is happening?
It's like there's a good symmetry between what is happening here.
It's not sexual, but thank God.
Maybe.
So just in Dave's
keep going.
In Dave's head canon, it's super sexual. But
well, you broke the glass now. In case of emergency.
So the square up was really cool. The evolution that we see in Daryl to not instantly just put him down. Daryl used to fight anybody that would come at him, and he's not like that anymore. He's really grown up as a character. Dave, you talked about it was very similar to how he interacted with Judith, giving Eugene the space that he needed. So it's very clear that Daryl has grown in that way, to know that sometimes you just gotta let things marinate for a second before you come in it. You can't come in hot all the time. Says the person who comes in hot all of the time. But
which was him for 12 years until now.
Yeah. So that was really cool to see. And I just had talked about how much Daryl has grown in the last episode. And so it's cool to see, even though we didn't get a ton of Daryl in this episode, that we're still seeing that movement forward. I enjoyed that there was more about Eugene. Last episode, we saw the interaction that happened at the end of the episode with Sebastian's death and everything, but we didn't spend a ton of time with him. We really haven't in the last couple episodes. So
I've heard Joe Rogan talk about this, how being a father has changed the way he's even seen the world. And I wonder, because one could easily say, oh, his evolution's too quick, but you forget that there's been time jumps. There's been moments where he's had time to himself to reflect on what would Rick do? Where is my brother? Et cetera, et cetera. But then thinking about the fact that for a year, he's taking care of Rick's kids. He's been effectively their father, let's say. Foster father, let's just call it that. Adoptive father, whatever. They adopted him. That checks out, actually. But that in being a father, all of a sudden, all the things that you tried to absorb before and tried to take in before, and all the behaviors you tried to emulate, just kind of naturally fall into place because you have this life in your hands, this small child in your hands that you have to take care of. And I think that's a legit thing. And I can easily see that in being a father, you sort of see and interact with the world in a different way. Eugene was once a child too, but also Eugene was once someone who felt he had to lie in order to get what he wanted, much like a child. And he is thinking to himself, he's not that anymore. I'm going to let's see how this plays out, because he's a smart dude. He's going to know right away that you can feel two things at once, because it's him too. I mean, Eugene is in his own way only doing what Daryl has felt throughout this entire series most of the time. Like, I want to raise hell, but I know that if I do, I might get somebody hurt.
Yeah.
Who are they if not each other in their own unique way?
I hadn't really thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right.
You helped me with
You're
that.
right. I think that seeing Eugene head into the station at the end of the episode and seeing him essentially say, I'm going to die for this woman that I love. This is not the Eugene that we've ever known prior to this. And it's just so cool to see him grow up and become, I'm going to say man, but it's not, this isn't like a sexual thing. Like, I don't mean like gender wise, like identity wise or anything. I'm just saying like, he finally got to being like an adult, right? He finally like got to be a man and to like step into the role that he needed to. But the thing about it is that he loved Rosita, and yet,
quote unquote,
and yet
right.
He turned and went with Negan. So like, this is one real love for Eugene, like real, genuine, authentic love. One, it's not unrequited. So sure, there's something different about that. But two, as much as he claims that he loved Rosita, did he really? If he was willing to turn against her and the people that she was with. And here we see him turn himself in to save Max. Aren't you like proud in these moments? These characters are like finally like with the people that you knew that they could be. This is dumb because it's TV. But it's like, yeah, so way to go, guy. Way to go. Way to be like a good guy.
You're talking about a guy who never thought he could be that kind of person. Until somebody
Daryl
showed him that
right?
it could be. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly what I mean.
I think the two of them have really had the most satisfying character arcs.
And it's not out of nowhere.
Daryl and Eugene. Because who has changed more than Eugene? Really? Nobody.
Carol. Carol.
Well, Carol too. But those are all such slow burns, right? Like Dave's right. We didn't get it automatically.
Rachel.
No, that's why it's authentic.
Carol changed fairly quickly. It took Eugene a long time. Like Carol's like, all right, I gotta be this bitch, but it took Eugene a long time to be that bitch.
And Daryl too. Daryl, same way. I mean, we always thought Daryl was a badass, but
I feel like Daryl, he changed early because by season 5, 6, he was totally different than season 1 Daryl.
Oh yeah, but the fact that it kept going, because there were still things that needed to be, obviously, because he was so hot-headed, he hit Negan. And then Glenn died. And that's the specific, I know I didn't want to reference that specific moment, but that's kind of what I'm referring to. Oh, Eugene, you want to pull a me? Okay, here's the door, bud. You know what happened that day. So you're smarter than that. You know the answer. It's like what we were saying about Judith in the other episode. Judith, I know you're right, but you're also wrong. You're right in that in an ideal world, you stay and fix this. We may not be in an ideal situation, so you have to be ready to fight. It's the same interaction. It's like, yes, Eugene, every fiber in your being is telling you that this is the right thing to do, but is it going to do what you think it's going to do? That's what he's saying to Eugene in the moment. No, you're being smart. You would just get killed. There's no assurances here. But with the knowledge that Maxine would face what he would have to face otherwise, that's what motivates him to leave. If somebody here has to die, don't let it be Maxine. Let it be me. And that is different. Who would have thought that Eugene would be that self-sacrificial? But what's great about it is that it's not coming out of nowhere. There is this gradual climb that you get to see over time. And I'm going to say this, but it's not like Carol at all. Carol kind of flips over to the version she didn't know that she could be, but she does it right away. And she just increasingly gets better at it rapidly as we go. These guys, they needed time to reach this weird level of being this person that they never thought they could be. Carol kind of got to it really quickly. It's the result of having gotten it there too quickly that she has to deal with now. And I think I like seeing her normalize. I like seeing her go all the way this way and then kind of come down to a place where she can be a mother, potentially a mother and a survivor and somebody who takes care of everybody rather than sacrifices for the greater good, that sort of situation. But I know I'm waxing on that, but it is different though. It's nice. It's kind of satisfying to see something that isn't immediate and like, oh, magic, I'm automatically a brave person. You're like, no, he had to build to this. Chef's kiss.
I mean, to be fair, I think I mean, and this is just argumentative on my side, but
What, you won't fight?
Yeah, I want to fight. I'm going to square up against you, Dave. So I would say, even though, yes, we can say like that happened quickly to Carol, you have to remember the first season.
It's 2 years.
Right? The first season, scared. Second season, scared about her daughter. It really took until the prison for her to find herself.
So like the second year.
And to finally really trust herself. Yeah, it happened quickly in comparison to everybody else, but she also was like directly dealing with like many different traumas, like one right after the other. And yes, everybody was going through that, but I think her more so because her husband died. And yes, she had tried to leave him, but you know how that is for victims of abuse. Right. That had to happen. So she had to deal with that. And then immediately, like it's so quickly after that Sophia goes missing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
in a way, she's like, there is a sort of arrested development with her. Like she immediately channels her anger into the world in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it helps her adapt to the world.
And you gotta remember the whole second season, she's like spending time doing laundry and cooking food and picking peaches. She's like, I need to feel useful and I can't feel useful in any other way. Well, eventually she just hit a point where she was like, well, then I don't want to feel useful this way. I want to be useful. Kind of like Andrea was. She was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Andrea, except Andrea was a fucking bitch about it.
That's the difference, right? Is that Carol is more of a slow burn, more of a softer change into that way. But that is what ultimately she ended up becoming. But we don't see height of Carol until what is that, like season 4 or 5?
3 or 4, yeah.
Where we like really see Carol come in.
When she burns Karen and David alive.
It's exactly what I was going to say. That was like
it took
the swing to the other side.
Yeah, it took a long time, right?
And then she had to kind of come back a little bit.
I agree. I love the up and down of her because I love that she like overcorrects sometimes. Like, I won't be a victim anymore. So now I'm going to do this. And then it's like, well, that's not going to work. So now I got to
I have to avenge Henry. So fuck everybody.
So now I've got to back up. Which I didn't mention it in the last episode. I really should have, but that moment that Daryl looks at her and goes, "What did you do?" was like just a prime example of like Carol overcorrecting in situations and everybody having to pay the consequences for it, which is
what? And we should have mentioned it at the time, and I'm glad you brought it up because it is emblematic of the last few seasons where like, yes, they kind of had a reconciliation, he and Carol. But there's still like that. I like that there's a little bit of that echo of like, oh, what did you do now? Did you blow up a tunnel and almost kill Connie? That sort of, it's not completely gone away. There is an element of like, Carol, what did you do this time?
Well, they're still fractured, right? They're still fractured. I mean,
there's still fissures.
I love their friendship, and I was from the beginning have loved their friendship. I always thought it was just a really special relationship, and I love from the moment the Cherokee Rose thing happened till now, and they are my 2 favorite characters, and I love them so intensely. So no ill will against Carol by any means, but I really did love that moment. I just love seeing that it's still there. Daryl doesn't just forget because we're trying to move the storyline along.
Right. This isn't magic. Things don't automatically heal. No, but that makes this relationship authentic too. Like that. It's not as cut and dry, and it's not as simple. Things happened. That brings a richness to their friendship that is gonna be there. We all have friends that kind of are an asshole, or they're late every now and again to this thing. Like you still love them, but like that's Dave. The thing that they do. Hey, I've been waiting for you guys. Don't you dare. The last several times I've been here like 15 minutes early setting up because I miss you guys and I can't wait to see you.
To be fair,
but
it's me.
You guys, I guess, don't love me, so you don't
late.
show up on time. I'm kidding.
Late. It's me.
I love you. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. You guys got shit to do. I get it. Of course. It's time for me to be there for you early. Anyway, sorry. I'm seriously kidding.
I'm gonna go because I came on here straight from work and I haven't eaten dinner or taken a shower. And I still have to go to bed in just a little while because I have to get up early in the mornings. I am sorry. I love you guys. And I will talk to you all later.
Good night.
Thank you, Major General Charity.
Bye, guys. I will see you all tomorrow. I love
Thank you for
guys.
joining
I'll
us.
see y'all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Mwah. Let's drop just a random bomb then. Let's throw Molotovs in this conversation. What did you think about Aaron kind of saying, hey, what was that thing you said about Kingdom 2.0? You thought King Ezekiel, but what about King Jerry and Queen Nabila?
I just thought it was sweet.
It was
I just thought it was sweet, and it was nice.
It did have a good
Queen
ring to
Nabila
it.
has a nice ring to it.
It's like
I always
Nefertiti.
loved.
It's like Nabila.
I always loved Jerry's loyalty, right? It was like such an endearing character. I mean, as if Cooper Andrews isn't like the most endearing person anyway. He's just like sweet and he's got like a sweet face and you just like want to just hug him. But
Hug it, specifically his face.
yeah, just
He
his
looks
face.
like he gives good
Just his
hugs.
face.
Right? Like a bear hug. And it was just a really endearing characteristic about him that he was so loyal always, and he referred to Ezekiel still as the king after everything, even
boss.
even when Ezekiel's like, please stop, he's like, no, I won't.
No.
I like it. To have him realize he is capable and that he could do it on his own, that he doesn't
Sorry.
need, I mean, not that he doesn't need Ezekiel. He loves Ezekiel. They're friends. But like he's kind of etching out his own place in the world. And so like, why can't he be the leader? Why not think bigger? Why not think better?
Good tie-in. But it could be better.
Right? It could
Jerry.
be.
King Jerry.
It could be. And I just think that was really nice. And I love that Aaron believes in him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. After us discussing how this kind of shows that Aaron is a leader, well, Jerry also could be. I laughed earlier. I stifled a laughter because I felt like, remember when he was talking about the Alfredo and cannelli beans? I felt like, okay, fuck me if I'm wrong, but like I felt like he was saying it purposefully louder to the herd. He's like, yeah, I want to do fettuccine cannelli because fuck you, walkers. I want my pasta. Did you get that? I didn't think about it, but I'm like, why are you being so loud,
I'm like,
bitch?
why
And you're
are
stepping
all
on
of them
leaves?
being so loud? Like that was what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, why are all of them being?
No,
You gotta
it's
put it
mostly
down
him.
gently.
Exactly.
Stop hanging out with
Exactly.
Felix too
By the way,
much.
do you know what that's from?
World Beyond.
Okay, good.
That's Felix, baby.
Season 1, episode 2.
That's Felix,
Season 2,
baby.
episode 2.
It's very much that.
2.
What is giving Felix vibes for sure. But I was like, why are you yelling? Because I'm like really worried right now. And then 2, it's like maybe that walker did just hear them. Maybe he's like, Alfredo, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Does it have brains in it?
I like Italian.
No, he's
Dad
like
joke.
mad. He's like, that sounds horrible. It's a crime against culinary arts. Like, I'm gonna come murder you with a
I'm
rock.
not going to make Alfredo cannelli
Because notice,
beans
he does
with
keep
their
coming for
stomach.
Jerry. Is it about the Alfredo? Is he mad?
Maybe
Yeah,
he just
it might be.
wanted to be invited to dinner, and he's like, "Fuck you guys, you're being rude."
Yeah, what are you trying to throw in my face?
Right.
My dead shrivelly face?
You promised me I'm here for the
Here,
beans.
here's-
He just showed up. He showed up, and he brought the rock. He's like, "I'll help grind up some beans." Like, and then they started attacking him. Like, I kind of feel bad for this walker now.
Guys,
Like,
I
he just-
just wanted to
yeah.
help you make pasta.
He's like, I'm here for the bean party. What's up, guys?"
Maybe he was just like,
And then Aaron
he
ripped his
grabs the
face
stick because he
off.
just wants to get a hug. That's what he was like. I just
Yeah.
want a hug.
I heard
It's
you
what
give
it
good
is.
Jerry
hugs.
gives goes hugs. Yeah.
Exactly.
say
No, I think it was
words?
more of the Cooper thing. Jerry's gives good hugs. Yeah, we all speak English good sometimes.
Words are difficult sometimes. Can I throw something random out?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what we're here for.
Socorro Espinoza. I love hearing Coco's full name.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
so cool.
That was cute.
Yeah.
It jarred me a little bit because I was like, that's not her name.
Her name is
like-
Coco. You're wrong.
I'm like, I'm like, who's Socorro?
No.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's that I, in my head, have been saying her full name wrong this whole time. I thought it was like Sirocco or something like that. And then hearing him say, I'm like, wait, is that right? And then I Googled the thing and I'm like, oh, you're right. So, sorry, Mike.
Where have
I'm
we
gonna call
heard
you
her?
Mike forever now.
Where have we heard her full name before this episode?
When, not this episode, but like in season 10, I want to say.
Oh,
like when you see her
Rosita
the first
says
time.
it. Rosita does say her full name at some point. You're right.
It was like I had forgotten it though. Like she was just Coco forever now. I had forgotten.
I forgot about that.
And then Forever Coco after that.
Yeah.
Well,
so it was cool. It was cool to hear her full name again, I guess, because it reminded me of it.
I turned into full neckbeard keyboard warrior. I was like, that is wrong,
Continuity
show.
error.
Yeah. I really didn't, but like, I'm like, I literally, I know I'm exaggerating, but like, I literally went, I'm like, well, okay, I assume they're right, so I'm not going to fight it.
I'm wrong.
But in my head, I'm definitely wrong. So let's fix that. So what is it? Socorro? Socorro? Okay. I have to educate my brain just like the Walker educated himself to turn knobs and pick up rocks and fight Jerry.
Her name...
Everybody.
Her name means... It's a Spanish-Portuguese word taken from the title of the Virgin Mary, meaning Mary of Perpetual Succor. So like...
like soccer?
Offering assistance. No, like offering assistance in times of hardship.
Oh, so fitting.
Right?
I love that.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh, did Gabe and Rosita pick the name together?
No.
Probably.
They weren't together then.
I mean, when Coca was born?
I don't think they were together before.
Yeah, but they were still
they
like...
got together after she was
born.
born.
You know what? We don't really even know because it was in that time period between
the
winter.
It's the time jump thing.
Yeah.
So I guess that's left to your imagination. Some things should be, right? How did those two end up together? Well,
we don't know.
But
as I often say, it's because one of them is a hothead and the other one is calm and relaxed. And if you take a look at my own relationship, here's your hothead. That one's relaxed and it works.
Well, it's weird how we're seeing that change hands, though, in a weird way. Like how Rosita is the one learning to let Eugene go.
Yeah.
And she does still say what she needs to say just to make sure that this is like how our family fights. Our family, we'll push back to make sure that you made the right decision. But like, we'll be like, you sure? Yeah, but you get this way. But this and but that. All right. I guess you made up your mind. And I've made sure that every avenue is covered where I basically almost put you down in all these different ways to make sure that you made the right decision. That's how our family fights.
Yeah, she was very aggressive.
Maybe it's just me.
Like,
but
it was good.
I respected it.
He needed to hear it.
Yeah. But I even wrote in my notes, in a zombie apocalypse context, is she wrong?
No, not at all.
But it could be better.
Did you just die,
What?
Frankie? Are you okay?
Sorry, Frankie. Did I?
No, she just did like
loud.
the loudest sneeze I've ever heard in my life. Like it was like she jumped up when she sneezed.
I almost blamed myself for like hurting your,
go lay down,
like
and
scaring
just, like,
your
take
dog.
it easy, will you? You're being a real weirdo.
I like these recurring themes that we make up along the way out of nowhere. Similar to Rosita saying to Eugene, "But you'll die," and that's stupid. And I'm gonna say this because it's in the same vein. In the zombie apocalypse, is what Pamela is doing to round up every newcomer that has come in that is definitely or most likely allied with Eugene. Is she wrong in a zombie apocalypse context for trying to put them in like a holding area, considering that the rest of these people in the Commonwealth are not as skilled and adept and they've not been out there? Like, see, this is what
I think it's a dumb mistake, but I think it's like the sin of hubris. I am untouchable. I am fine. I have control over this situation. Do you have control over this situation? Because it really seems like it got away from you. So no, you don't. And now the one thing you didn't want to happen happened anyway. And had you just given Sebastian to the people, you'd be fine.
However, that doesn't make sense logically.
No,
it's
but I'm just saying like
nature,
it still ended up that way.
Well, this is what happens when you don't build your society out of a tangible rule of law where everybody is held accountable for their actions, just not just the underclass. The upper class, or at least the government class, needs to be held accountable too.
Well, I agree. It happens in our own world.
It does, but it doesn't. As soon as it becomes inconvenient, they will get tried. They're not the absolute authority. At least there's some form of checks and balances should we decide to avail ourselves of them.
Yeah.
But here, there's an absolute authority. There's a quote-unquote benevolent dictator, not in name. She's it.
You're right.
There's no elections. There's nepotism. There's line of succession. What makes us different than a monarchy? Nothing. It is the way it is because I say it is.
Yeah. Because, exactly. She was expecting that Sebastian would lead, but if the people voted, it would not have been him. Probably would have been Mercer, honestly. Right. Because he's obviously a favorite among the people.
In case you missed it in the last episode, there was a sign that says, elect President Mercer. We want President Mercer. I would have to pull up the notes because I wrote down all the signs, what they said. Mercer for president or something like that. But I know, it's cool, huh? I want to take that a little bit further because I have to sort of backpedal a little bit from something that I had said in the last episode because I was kind of shocked at Maxine. I've always preached that incrementalism is the best way for change to stick. But after watching this episode, it kind of allowed me to kind of take a step back and say how appreciative I am that Max did what she did in trying to expose Sebastian. Because what I have to remember that this isn't a civil society, not completely. It is hypothetically a society that has rules and laws. But if not everybody is bound by them, then what's the point? So Max is right. I don't like that it got so many people hurt on me on the other side of the glass watching this show. Yeah, I don't like it. But how is it going to get better otherwise?
Got to get worse before it gets
What is
better.
the path? Yeah. You gotta lance the infection before you, and that hurts before you can apply the ointment. You can't just slap on something and hope it gets better. Yep. Slather on some cream because we love doing that on this show. What? I hesitate. That's me saying like I kind of backpedal on being too harsh with Max and saying, oh, she's not accepting the fruit of the spirit. I'm admitting a little bit of like, okay, look, she doesn't have those traits, but she needs to be a certain way in order to get things done. And it's too much. These people are skating and not following their own rules. And really, is this the model of America, an aristocracy? That's weird. It looks like America, but really isn't at all. Me apologizing, explaining myself. I felt bad. I felt bad after watching this episode. How bad was it? Oh, it's this bad. Because we don't really know everything all at once, too. We made so many assumptions about how this government is. But like now you really get to see that, oh, they're playing by their own rules. They're making it up as they go.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk? What happened at the end? Who were those people?
Black bagging Carol at the end?
Rosita, you mean?
Rosita.
Oh, Rosita. I'm sorry. I said Carol because they were doing that in the sneak to the next episode. But yes, Rosita.
Yeah,
my bad.
Who was that? Is that Pamela's people, or is she rounding everybody up? Is that what we're supposed to guess here? Or?
Well, I mean, they already rounded them up once, and they did it officially. So if she wanted to round them up again, why would it not be through official channels again?
I thought it was almost like, is that Hornsby?
And yeah, it could be Hornsby. Maybe we're going to see Shira again outside the window.
Well, because we can ascertain from, I think, maybe the first episode of this chunk of season 11, that when Negan came in to the Commonwealth and mentioned Daryl, Lance got that name from someone who works under Mercer. Lance said, they're not your men, they're my men.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we can guess that there are people that still work for Lance that are obviously just out there doing whatever. We don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So I was wondering then if they're guards and they work for Mercer, they could have access to Lance. Then I was curious if that was like Lance's people, if he had said like, screw this, round them all up, I want them taken away.
Yeah,
I like that, but I kind of like
I
kind of like what you said earlier, though, how this could all be not Lance per se, but like Shira going rogue.
Well, I mean, definitely
the plumbers union and maybe trying to take some of those people that Lance originally believed in, like, oh, these are the guys that can help me come into power. Maybe it's that, maybe it's something else. Maybe Lance is more altruistic than we know.
Well, then, I don't know. I do have a question, because did Lance know that they were going to kill those people to create walkers in the walls?
Yes, he ordered them from the cell.
Was his order, yeah.
He said because my thought was, what if he didn't, but to save face in front of Pamela, he's going to pretend like he sent that order.
You know, to take that even further?
Yeah, maybe, but I think
I was going to say, when Sharondy said this sexual thing that is Lance's, Pamela, in his face.
So gross. Ugh.
Well, to follow, because they play it in such a way where, like, what if this whole sexual tension thing is just a way to confuse Pamela into thinking that, yes, he is attracted to her or attracted to being in trouble or something, only to kind of climb over that and say, oh, bitch, I wasn't attracted. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean?
He's
like,
more diabolical than we're giving him credit for.
Right. He's playing it up so that she will drop her defenses and make a mistake. So
Oh no.
to that point,
It's
right?
like I still can't get a firm read on him after all of these episodes. I still don't know.
Great.
Well, I mean,
It
that's
is
good writing.
Awesome.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good writing.
You never know what's going to happen next.
Whose apartment is Rosita in? Her own?
I'm
I
assuming
assumed
yes.
it was her
yes.
own. Yeah.
Okay. She says, is everyone ready? Who's she talking to? Who else is supposed to be in there?
I was wondering if everyone is there. Were they all meeting? Because Daryl said, I'll see you later at your place.
And if they're...
So she thought it was Daryl.
So she thought, okay, so she heard somebody walk in and was like, oh, are we ready? Or are we supposed to assume that people were already in the apartment? In which case, why didn't she hear these people being abducted? Words.
Abducting her? Or is that what you wanted to say?
Well, if there were already people in the apartment, why didn't she hear a commotion behind her when they took whoever else was in the apartment with her? Or did she hear the door open and assume it was her friends and she's like, oh, is everybody ready? And then she comes out and kablammy.
So many different things.
Remember that when Calhoun was trying to get to Daryl's apartment or Carol's apartment,
Yeah.
he had a key.
Yeah.
So of course she assumes that it's Daryl because he has a key to her apartment, let's say. Nobody was in the apartment except for
So
her.
it must be
Right.
Lance's
That's what
people, is what we're saying.
I didn't
well,
hear anyone walk in.
it could still be Pamela's
hear the
people
door
because wouldn't they have keys to
I
everything?
heard a door.
You did? Okay.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it could, it still
just
could
like,
be either.
right.
Okay. Well, that gets us nowhere. Thanks. Big thanks.
I mean, ish.
That's
I
the
mean,
thing
it
that
seems
happened.
like, okay, she thought it was somebody and it was somebody
Yeah.
else. And then they fought and stuff happened and she got black bagged. The question really is, who are those men? Do those men belong to?
I know.
That's a really good, interesting. You do get hints that Pamela has basically rounded up and expelled all the communities from the Commonwealth. It sounds like
Which
in the
is
sneak.
like fine, isn't that what they want anyway? So like,
Right.
bye.
But there were all these other cells in the bowels of the Commonwealth too, where Lance is, I'm assuming. And there are some scenes where Lance is with some of our gang too. So they were probably bailed out of the same place or they got help from Mike. I don't know. But I don't like sneaking into the
No, let's
with
not do
stuff
this.
from
Let's
the
not do
episode
this.
anyway, but like it is interesting. But
Who knows?
there's
We'll
always a
be wrong,
misdirect.
so.
Right, because they always kind of paint it like it's this way, but it's to give them a lot of credit for all the shit that we give them at the beginning of this episode, which I don't even know made the episode, how they always kind of give shit away in the promos. Whenever it comes to the sneak peeks at the end of the episode, they always paint it like it's going in one direction, but it really is something else. So to give them credit, they always try to misdirect us.
Yeah,
So I like that.
that's true.
I like that.
Like how Carol says they took the kids.
Oh, stop it. This is why we don't talk about teasers. I don't want to
Shushy.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about the final episodes either. I just don't want to hear any of it.
None of that.
Exactly.
None of it.
Exactly.
None of it.
I just want to say again how excited I am that we get to see a little bit more Teo Rap Olsen, that he
Me too.
must have been so excited to be a walker.
Yeah, right? That's like the dream. That's awesome.
I mean,
wait
like,
to
did
talk
he
to him
like
about it.
angle for this? But guys, what if Pamela decided to keep Walker Sebastian around? Hey, FX department. Can we put on Austin Powers 2? Look at it. Do the whole thing all over again. No, that's like Austin Powers 2 and 3 to put all that makeup on. So
For sure.
relax. You're going to be in there for a while. I hate Austin Powers. Anyway, with the thought that we'll
right
see
now,
more
I
of Teo
don't.
Rap Olsen as a walker, if you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. Leave us 5 stars and an eggplant in Lance's pants. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. You hate our faces for some reason, or you think we missed something. Let us know after every episode. And if you like where we're headed as a podcast and you want to be a part of the action, well, get your start by creating a free account on ko-fi.com or patreon.com and following us at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. You don't have to buy us a coffee at Ko-fi or join a membership tier on either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. Just create a free account and follow us so that you know when we set up our recording sessions, which are absolutely free to join. But should you choose, when you do buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, you'll get 30 days of supported back content with your generous support. And should you decide to join a membership tier, you can do so for as little as $1 a month on either platform. Well, really the one. The other one's a little bit more expensive because that's how it works, folks. That's capitalism. But when you do, you'll be privy to some really good perks, among which are the ability to get the unedited episode recordings as well as Discord access with all tiers. Higher tiers get some extra little perks, which are probably showing up on the screen right now. The shout outs at the end of the episodes, 50% off in the merch store. And if you join the Survivors tier, you get to be on camera and mic and join us in these episode breakdowns. There's a couple spots left on Ko-fi.com/SquawkingDead. So show us what you're made of. And with that, everybody, I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Cosmo Mom 09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUYSETER. Take care, everybody. I love this episode. I hope you did too. And if you didn't, that's fine too, because that's how we are as a podcast. You can be wrong. But we'll see you in the next one, 11:20. I wish it would go a lot slower, but that's not how life works, everybody. Hey, but that's the thing, everybody. You have control of when you say yes. Life is too short, so make it count. I love you. I'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
It can be better now.
Yeah.
I just made myself tear up.
I'll take better now, please.
I'll take better now, please. Can I has better, please?
Can I have some